Hi there. So I wanted to follow up on what we talked about this past Saturday on the drive. First of all, thank you so much for the amazing support we've gotten on the drive. We're having so much fun with it, but this week you'll notice we jumped into some pretty tough topics. We jumped right in about talking about fear. And interestingly enough, Brenda and I both have talked to each other about how much we've gotten out of that as well, just having those conversations, which is really why we wanted to do the drive, because we have these amazing conversations and then we just continue to kind of grow from them. But what's really cool is to be able to bring other people in, and it's exactly what we hoped it would be. It's sparking a lot of conversation and a lot of just really thought-provoking comments and things like that. So for those of you that don't know, we're doing it on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we're just hopping in the car and talking, and we're calling it seriousness and shenanigans because sometimes we get a little silly, and but a lot of times we're talking about really tough issues, and really we want to bring to light topics that are maybe tough to talk about, but to show that they don't always have to be serious and hard, and we can have some fun with it too, and we do. And we want you to join in on that fun as well. But I wanted to talk to you more about some of the things that came up just since Saturday. So the first one was in talking about this fear, and we talked about fear of success and fear of failure. And so many times people are like, I don't have a fear of success, but we find out that we do. We find out that we're starting to sabotage ourselves in ways that we didn't realize when we really start to pay attention to our thoughts and our actions. And for those of you that work with me, you know that I like to say inaction is an action as well. So not taking action a lot of times is something that happens when there's a fear of success. So one of the things that happens, and I know it happened for me, was other people speaking their fear into me. And I think I shared the post yesterday, which was from either last year or the year before. And it was about, people saying, oh, aren't you afraid that this will happen? You're going to start your own business. Aren't you afraid it'll fail? Well, and maybe you are afraid of it, but just remembering that people, they mean well. And I don't want to be, I don't want to say, oh, shame on them for saying those things. They mean well, and they want to try to protect us. It's human nature to not want to feel that, that failure, if you will, and to save other people from it too. But just remembering to not allow other people speaking their fear into you to stop you from taking the action that you want to take. So that's something that I don't know that we touched on a whole lot on the drive. One of the things I actually put in the description, and then we didn't touch on it, and the show went about 10 minutes longer than we planned. We tried to keep them around a half an hour, but I had put in the description that we have kind of these two different voices, and the one is, who do you think you are? And I know that's something, I won't go into a lot of detail of where that comes from for me, but even getting on and doing this kind of stuff, like, who do you think you are? Well, when you're on a mission, it does make it a little bit easier to do what it is that you want to do. And big shout out to Frank Luger for saying to me today, look, I'm going to get teary-eyed again, that I've helped him with some stuff. And the fact is, that's why I jump on and do this, to know that I might help someone through some of this. So anyway, that wasn't in the plan. So that, who do you think you are? Well, I'm going to challenge that with, who are you not to? If you have something to share and something that can help someone, who are you not to do that? So I'm going to challenge that thought and help you steer that a little bit. And I would encourage you, if you have that thought of who do you think you are, to look at Marianne Williamson's quote called, it's from, it's not actually a quote, but it gets quoted a lot. Marianne Williamson, Our Greatest Fear. Just Google that and read that whole thing, and then read it over and over again if you continue to have that fear. I still revisit it from time to time, by the way. And then the other thing is, what if I'm not good enough? And I would go back to one of the quotes is, what if I fail, but what if you fly? And what if you're not good enough? So what? You'll learn something along the way. So again, we talk about kind of steering your thoughts through it. How can I think about this differently so that even if I do fail, because the fact of the matter is, we probably, if we try, we're going to fail. It's from time to time, like, it's part of it. That's part of the success formula. So kind of changing our mindset around fear of failure. The other one is fear of imperfection. Trust me, I have problems with this one. I looked at my hair and finally I was like, you know what, this is what it's going to be. Or the fact that I cried earlier and my makeup's half gone. You know what? Let's embrace the imperfections and understand that being imperfect is really what makes us relatable. I don't know about you, but when I see somebody who's absolutely perfect, I can't relate to that person. So just embracing that fear of imperfection and taking imperfect action. One of my favorite things was said to me by one of my coaches, ADHD coach from ADHD Rewired, Eric Tivers. And he had a coach say it to him that if you don't look back on some of the action you took a year ago or 2 years ago and you aren't slightly embarrassed by it, like, oh my gosh, I've grown so much since then you probably waited too long. So if you're waiting for things to be perfect, first of all, it'll probably never happen. And second of all, it's kind of how you grow. So taking that imperfect action and just doing what you need to do. The other one, I've got little notes up here in the corner. I'm cheating a little bit. The other one is, like I said before, changing your definition of fear. And we did touch on that a little bit in the drive, but really looking at failure as at least I'm trying. Like for me, I sat on the sofa for 3 years, not taking any action whatsoever. So I didn't sit on the sofa for 3 years. I did other things too, but I'm just saying I didn't take any action. So when we can look at when we can redefine fear, and for me that's how I redefine, or failure, I'm sorry, when you can redefine it to say something and find what works for you. What works for me, the way I reframe it, may not work for you, so find what works for you on that. The other thing, we talked a little bit about fear of regret, and for me, fear of regret is like to get to the end of my life, which we don't know when that's going to be, right? That could be tomorrow and it could be 50 years from now, but getting to the end of our lives and having regret that we didn't do something. But someone gave me another little spin on that, and I'll let them speak up if they want to, but that sometimes that fear of regret makes us stay in situations too long. So what if I'm supposed to be doing XYZ? Maybe it's I'm not supposed to move, or I'm not supposed to get out of this relationship, or I'm not supposed to, I'm supposed to stay in this job, whatever it is. So that fear of regret. So finding that balance and really being honest with ourselves. And this is what Brenda kept saying on Saturday, was that self-awareness piece. That self-awareness piece is the absolute most important piece of all of this, is being self-aware. And really that's just starting to challenge your thoughts and being aware of what the heck you're thinking. So and then the last thing I want to talk about, another person had brought up something that they had never considered before, which was that this whole fear of success and fear of failure, there is something called impostor syndrome. And if you've ever put yourself out there, you're very familiar with this, and it's something that gets talked about a lot in certain circles. But impostor syndrome is where you've put yourself out there, and it's this sort of, who am I to be doing this, or somebody else could be doing it better, or, I'm not good enough to be up here. But at the end of the day, that's all about comparing yourself to someone else. And we all know, right, that everybody's unique. We all know that we're made to be uniquely us, right? So no two people are alike, and that's what makes us all amazing. But still, we find a way to compare ourselves and be like, I'm not as good as that person. And the one thing I try to always remember is there may be things like that may be true, because I always ask myself, is that thought, the true, helpful, necessary, inspiring, and kind, the think, that may be a true statement. They may be better at it than me. But there are some things that I may be better at than them. So it doesn't make either one of us better or worse than the other. It's just who we are. So just remembering that piece of comparison is really, it's like comparing to flowers that are, not to get like super philosophical and not, woo-woo, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, you don't look at a tree and be like, oh, that tree's, well, sometimes you might, that tree's prettier than the other one. But, the point is, we're all different, and we're supposed to be different, and we can embrace that and just not compare ourselves to someone else. It's hard to do. I struggle with these things regularly, maybe even daily, but I but one of the things I do, and this is what I would encourage you to do, is if you find yourself not moving forward in life or afraid to make a decision, start to surround yourself. We live in a time that you can surround yourself with people who will help speak positivity into your life, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's podcasts, whether it's friends and family, coworkers, whatever it is. You get to choose what you let into your world. I don't watch regular television anymore. I'm very, very selective on the type of television that I watch. YouTube videos and things like that. I'm not saying that I don't have Netflix and have a weekend where I watch shows or whatever, but I'm just saying, I live in the real world too, but I think it's important to pay attention to what we're letting in and the messages that we're letting in. And if there are messages that are keeping you stuck, you can shut them off. That's your choice. You get to make that. So I just wanted to kind of follow up with that and let you know that there were some things that came up. So you can watch it on Facebook, but we also have the YouTube channel. I'll put the link down in the comments for the YouTube channel. You can subscribe on those. We'll upload those every week. And we're excited to see where this goes. We have no idea. We just know that we wanted to get in the car and drive and talk about some of these tough topics and have some fun doing it. So any topics that you want us to tackle, let us know. Go to our website, SYLC and you can see what topics we already have workshops on. So those will be really easy topics for us to talk about. But if there's other things, feel free to send us a message. There's nothing off limits to suggest. We may not do every topic that you recommend, but certainly feel free to send us a message or put it in the comments and let us know what you want us to tackle. All right. Thank you so much.